T's 7:45 a.m. You're in that familiar frantic dance, fumbling for your keys, checking your phone for the third time, sipping lukewarm coffee as you head for the door. You look down, and there they are. Your dog is standing by the sofa, head tilted, eyes locked onto yours with a look that feels like a physical weight. You toss out a quick, "I'll be back soon, buddy. Be good," and the door clicks shut. Most of us think that once that door closes, our dogs simply transition into a state of waiting. We imagine them napping, perhaps dreaming of squirrels, or just passing the time until the garage door lifts again. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. What happens in your dog's brain during those first 20 minutes of solitude is one of the most intense cognitive shifts a mammal can experience. It is a plunge into what scientists call a chronological vacuum. And if you don't do one specific thing before you turn that lock, you are leaving your best friend without their most vital biological survival tool. What your dog is doing right now is one of the most complex expressions of interspecies mammalian bonding ever recorded. And most owners have no idea they are leaving their dog's nervous system completely unprotected. Let's start with the entertainment theory, because it sounds reasonable. We leave the TV on dog TV, we scatter a handful of treats, or we buy that expensive robotic ball that rolls around the living room. We tell ourselves if they're busy, they won't notice I'm gone. But here's the problem. Dogs aren't distracted by gadgets when their primary source of safety evaporates. Think about it. If you were trapped in a room and the person you love most suddenly vanished into thin air, would a puzzle toy make you feel better? Of course not. In fact, for many dogs, high arousal toys can actually increase cortisol levels. They aren't playing, they are compulsively discharging anxiety. So why, despite the mountain of toys, do they often ignore the treats and go sit right by the door, sniffing the tiny draft coming from under the frame? Why do they choose the hard floor over the plush bed you bought them? Because they aren't looking for a hobby. They are looking for a sensory anchor. To understand why your dog needs a piece of your biology to stay sane, we have to look at the machinery of the canine brain. In 2014, a neuroscientist named Dr. Gregory Berns at Emory University did something that changed how we view dogs forever. He spent months training dogs to sit perfectly still in an fMRI machine without sedation to see exactly how their brains process the world. What he found was extraordinary. When the dogs were presented with various scents, strangers, other dogs, even familiar food, their brains reacted normally. But when they were exposed to the scent of their owner, the caudate nucleus, the part of the brain associated with positive expectations, reward, and deep attachment, lit up like a Christmas tree. But here is the kicker. The reaction to the owner's scent was significantly stronger than the reaction to the scent of food. When your dog performs the sniff, searching for your presence after you've gone, they are performing the single most fundamental behavior in attachment psychology. In the scientific community, this is known as the secure base effect. For a dog, you aren't just a roommate or a provider. You are the biological regulator that keeps their nervous system from spiraling into a fight or flight state. They're not being clingy. They're telling you that you are the only thing in the world that makes their brain feel safe enough to exist. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just psychology, it's chemistry. Researchers at the University of Arizona have been studying the olfactory comfort loop. They found that dogs have over 220 million scent receptors, compared to our measly 5 million. To a dog, a scent isn't just a smell, it's a high-definition, four-dimensional map of reality. When you leave, the social oxytocin levels in your dog's brain, the hormone responsible for love and bonding, begin to plummet. Meanwhile, cortisol, the stress hormone, begins to climb. This is where the one thing comes in. Before you leave, you must provide a biological bridge. This isn't a toy. It needs to be a piece of clothing, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a pillowcase that you have worn against your skin for at least 8 to 10 hours. Why? Because your unique pheromones act as a social Xanax. When your dog smells that shirt, it triggers a neurochemical release that stabilizes their heart rate. This co-evolves specifically between humans and dogs. A wolf doesn't find peace in a human's dirty laundry, but for your dog, that t-shirt is a physical manifestation of your presence. Think about when did this behavior start? The answer is basically from the beginning. Take yourself back 15,000 years. Pre-agriculture, pre-writing. In that world, being alone meant being dead. For the early ancestors of our dogs, staying close to the human campfire wasn't just a preference, it was a survival mandate. Archaeological evidence supports this deep intimacy. In the Bonn Oberkassel burial site in Germany, researchers found a dog buried alongside 2 humans, dating back 14,000 years. Analysis showed the dog had been sick for weeks before it died, meaning the humans had cared for it, fed it, and kept it warm. These weren't just working animals, they were family. And we can see the proof in their DNA today. Geneticists have discovered that domestic dogs carry unique genetic insertions in chromosome 6. These are the same genetic markers associated with Williams-Buren syndrome in humans, a condition characterized by hyper-sociability and an extreme, almost painful need for contact. Your dog isn't doing something unusual by missing you. They're doing something that's been selected for across 15 millennia. They are genetically hardwired to believe that distance equals danger. Now, I want to tell you about a study that nobody talks about because the finding seems impossible at first. Dr. Alexandra Horowitz, a lead researcher at the Barnard College Dog Cognition Lab, looked at the rituals of saying goodbye. Most of us think that a long, emotional goodbye, hugging the dog, saying "I'll miss you" in a high-pitched voice, helps them feel loved. The data showed the exact opposite. Lengthy emotional departures actually spike a dog's anxiety because they mirror the alarm calls used in the wild. The dogs in the study who received the most emotional goodbyes showed 45% higher cortisol levels than those whose owners left quietly. The most successful departures were the ones where the owner was calm, silent, and simply handed the dog a scent anchor, the worn shirt, before walking out. The paradox? The less you say goodbye, the more your dog feels you haven't really left. If you provide the scent and leave without the drama, your dog transitions into a resting state 35% faster. And this is where it gets deep. In a 2023 study on physiological synchronization, researchers used wearable heart rate monitors to track owners and dogs while they were in separate locations. They found that when a dog was lying on a piece of the owner's clothing, their heart rate variability, HRV, the marker of a healthy, calm nervous system, began to mimic the owner's resting heart rate. Even miles apart, their nervous systems were in sync through the medium of scent. This only happens within bonded pairs. It doesn't work with a stranger's shirt. This is the big reveal. Leaving your dog with your scent isn't just a nice gesture, it's a neurological event. You are literally remote controlling their calm from your office chair. Sleeping on your shirt isn't just a psychological comfort, it's a biological synchronization. There's one last thing I need to tell you, and it might be the most important part of this video. Dogs are creatures of habit. If you start leaving a scent anchor and your dog, who used to be calm, suddenly begins to shred that clothing, or if they stop seeking it out entirely, don't brush it off. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is the only way they can tell you something is wrong. When a deeply established behavior disappears overnight, there is always a reason. It could be environmental, like a new construction noise next door. It could be physical pain. Separation anxiety often spikes when a dog is hurting because they feel even more vulnerable without their protector. In older pets, it can be the first sign of canine cognitive dysfunction, dog dementia. Statistics show that nearly 28% of dogs aged 11 to 12 show signs of dementia, and increased anxiety when alone is often the very first red flag. So tomorrow morning, when you're standing by the door with your keys in your hand and that 7:45 a.m. rush is calling your name, pause for 10 seconds. Take that t-shirt you wore to bed, the one that carries the unique chemical signature of your safety, and place it in their favorite spot. Remember what's actually happening. You aren't just leaving laundry. You are leaving 15,000 years of evolution, a neurochemical safety net, and a biological bridge that keeps your two hearts beating in the same rhythm even when you're miles apart. The science is clear. Sleeping on your scent is the safest place in their world. And honestly, the science suggests that knowing they are safe might be the very thing that helps you get through your day too. If this changed how you see your morning routine, subscribe to Mindful Pause and drop a comment below. I want to know, what's your dog's favorite scent anchor? Is it an old gym shirt or a specific pillowcase?